Well, welcome again to Flame of Truth here on LLBN. I'm so excited that you are with us today. And I don't know where in the week you find us, but I'm just blessed that it's beginning to be part of people's rhythm. I actually was on a cruise last week, and I was with a group of people having a little worship service Saturday morning that I had not met any of them before. One reached up and tapped me on the shoulder and said, "I watched you on LLBN." So I'm thankful to LLBN to give me this chance to be part of Flame of Truth. I'm Dan Smith, part of the senior pastor at the Garden Grove Church in Orange County. We're getting ready to complete our series on Unashamed, but before I preach this message called Heaven Can't Wait, I want you to listen to Joshua Yap play his flute with Marie on the piano, playing Every Time I Feel the Spirit. Well, thank you, Joshua and Marie. What a special gift to give us this music today. Heaven Can't Wait is the message today, finishing up a series called Unashamed. What is our message as a church that would be so energizing and so captivating that we would be thrilled, unashamed to tell it to the world? And so I've been trying to look at our core messages that come only from Jesus, from the Gospels. So we've done the character of God. That's our core message, is the truth about God. Then we talked about the Sabbath. What an incredible gift we have to give to the world, this day to be with God at His very best. And now Heaven Can't Wait. You may have heard this before. It's an old, almost a legend from Zimbabwe. I've gone several times now to help our university in Zimbabwe. Everybody in Zimbabwe knows this story. There was a man driving a busload of mentally ill people on the bus when he got thirsty, stopped off at a bar to get some drinks. When he came back out, everybody on the bus had run away. He knew he didn't dare go to the mental institution with an empty bus. So he went to the first bus station that he could find, bus stop, and he offered the first 20 people in line a free ride anywhere they wanted to go. And he got on the bus, he drove them to the mental hospital, dropped them off, told the people, they all think they're someone else, they think they're fine, but they're all crazy, keep them in the hospital. And it took them 3 days to finally convince the authorities that they were normal and they were okay and that they were free to go. And the question is, which world do you feel most comfortable in? Another driver has taken our world hostage. It's crazy. And you have to decide, is this the normal world that we want to fit into? Or is there another world that we're really a part of? The normal world, the right world that we were made for. And when the bus comes to take us away from the mental institution of this world, will you want to go? Or would you rather stay here? And of course, the obvious line is only crazy people would want to stay at a hospital for crazy people. Do you really want to go? The chaplain where I was before last year at University San Lenore told us one time he'd been speaking at a camp meeting for young adults, and he asked them all to raise their hand. How many of you have been praying for Jesus to come soon? About half the group. How many of you have been praying that for him not to come quite yet? You'd like to get married, you'd like to make love, you'd like to make money and travel the world. Then Christ can come. And even more raised their hand. Now we know why Christ hasn't come. It's because you've been praying harder than that, than the other group. Do we really want Christ to come? Or do we want heaven to wait a while? See? My father passed away, terrible accident. Our family decided heaven can't wait. We want him to come. I was having fun with my younger son, 17 now. This was a little bit ago. And we had a mission trip planned to Thailand, and I wanted my sons to go, be a part of it. He didn't want to go. So why don't you want to go? What about the food, Dad? I said, I'll make sure there's plenty of bread for you. They have Taco Bell, Sizzler, McDonald's. They have all those places. You can go there if you want. Well, what about it being hot, Dad? Well, we have air-conditioned room in the hotel. The buses and the cars will all be air-conditioned. What about the shots? I don't want to have any shots. I don't care if you don't have the shot. You want to have hepatitis and have the disease instead? No problem with me. Go ahead. What about sports, Dad? I won't be able to watch any sports. I said, they have television. They have satellites in their hotel room. I'll make sure you can watch any game you want. He said, Dad, what about my friends? What about my friends? If we moved to Thailand, this was the time when I had a call to go be a pastor in Thailand. He said, Dad, what about my friends? All he knew was where we have lived in Riverside, California. All he's ever known is one house, one school, one church, one group of friends. He had so many connections that he just could not. It holds him to where he's been. And is that true for you? But then I started teasing him, what about Hawaii? What if I got a call to move to Hawaii? Would you go there? We had a chance one time to go for a month in Hawaii. He loved it, didn't want to leave. The last day came time to go. He didn't want to leave. He was on his board down by the water. I said, it's time to go. He thought his life was over at 10, 12 years old, that he would never have so much fun again. And so while he has too many connections keeping him from going to Thailand, nothing would keep him from going to Hawaii. That he would go to. And that's my question for you today. Are there so many connections keeping you here? Or would you say, no, if Christ is ready to go, I'm ready to go. I'd rather be there. There's nothing worth holding me here that I would rather be here than there. Thailand or Hawaii. We're going to look at the last days today. We've taken this challenge of taking these three major beliefs, character of God, Sabbath, and the second coming in heaven, and trying to look at them only from Jesus and the Gospels to see what's there. Not from Daniel and Revelation, not from all the signs of the last days, not from newspapers, not from Time magazine. I laughed and talked to my church about the story of a young person, husband came downstairs and Saturday morning in his home, they keep the Sabbath. His wife came down a little later and saw him reading the newspaper and said, "It's a Sabbath. We don't read the newspaper and sports pages and all on Sabbath." And he said, "I was just checking to see what signs of the times have been fulfilled overnight." We're just going to look at Jesus and see from Christ himself. Jesus said, John chapter 20, Revelation 22, verse 12, "Behold, I am coming soon." It's been one of the great challenges to the Christian church, to the Adventist church. He hasn't come. 2,000 years. Have we made a mistake? Albert Schweitzer, he said, doctor from Africa, we just made a mistake. We were wrong. Christ was wrong. When he said, "I'm coming back, I'm coming soon," it was just wrong. Made a mistake. Bultmann, another famous professor, said, "No, he has already come. He's come spiritually. When the kingdom, everywhere there is the church and there is the kingdom of God, that is Christ coming back already. Don't look for something more to come. He's already come." Have we just made a mistake? It's up to us. Make our own heaven. And I would say, no, the answer is the cross. The answer is the cross. Whenever we begin to doubt whether Christ is really telling the truth, that I'm coming back and I'm coming back soon, the answer is the cross. How could Jesus go through that experience, the nails and all of that, and then not come back? What was the whole point? I've been to Corregidor in the Philippines, the island in the Bay of Manila there outside Manila, where Douglas MacArthur was during World War II. They have a way of sort of mimicking the bombs going off, and you can feel the ground shake. Day and night, 24 hours, bombed, and they finally told MacArthur, "You've got to go. We can't lose you." He got in a little boat in the middle of the night, and he said, "I shall return." And sure enough, he came back. Australia, all the islands came onto the island of Leyte, famous statue. MacArthur, "I kept my promise. Christ is coming back." It's the cross that guarantees the second coming. There's no question about it. That's what is going to happen. I've been thinking about the 40 days. I haven't read this anywhere, just an idea I've had recently. The 40 days that Jesus came back to be with the disciples. I don't know what your beliefs are. In our tradition, we believe that Jesus Christ went back to heaven right after the ascension, right after the resurrection. Because he told Mary in John 20 when she came to touch him, "Don't touch me. I have not yet ascended to my Father." But then in Matthew 28, he allows the woman to touch him and clasp him by his feet. So could it be that in between, and in our tradition, Desire of Ages, page 790, it says that Christ went to heaven quickly to be sure that his sacrifice had been accepted. And so he walks into heaven. And Psalm 24 has this picture of all the angels lining up heaven. Who is this King of glory? Christ is this King of glory. He's given his sacrifice. He's the triumphant Christ who has won the victory. And he walks into heaven and the Father hugs him. The risk that he gave, they gambled his own son and gave his own son, has been passed. And the test has been passed. The universe is secure. The plan of salvation has been handled. And now Christ is back. And Christ is back in heaven. And yet, according to the story, he comes back for 40 more days. It is the promise that he's going to come back again someday. That he'll keep his promise. In John 14, "I will come back. I go to prepare a place for you. I will come back and take you to be with me, that where I am, there you may be also." Those 40 days. Why would he come back? Because he wants to be with us. He wanted to be 40 more days with the disciples, with no distractions. He did not go and heal anybody. He didn't preach any more sermons. He didn't convert anybody. He just wanted 40 more days to be with his disciples. Those 40 days are an example of what heaven will be like. Jesus had nothing else to do. The battle is over. You think about all these movies that are in our culture today that have a great climactic battle. The Lord of the Rings, The Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe, the ocean movies, the Avatar, the Matrix movies. If you read even the old James Bond movies, if you read the books on Harry Potter or the Twilight, there's always a battle. And at the end of the battle, everything's perfect. The bad guys are gone. The good people have won. Right has won. You have the old James Bond movies. After this battle against this entity that's trying to take over the world and to bomb the world, when they're all gone, James Bond's out in the middle of the ocean in a boat with the most beautiful girl in the world, and everything is right and everything is peaceful. That's what Jesus had on those 40 days. He'd won the battle at the cross. He came out of the grave in the resurrection, and now he just gets to be with the 40 disciples. That's the whole point. Why would Jesus die and then not come back to be with us? That's the point of preparing a place for us. That's what heaven is going to be. For 40 days, he had no one to heal, nothing to do. That's what heaven is going to be like. There's no more need for miracles, no more time with answers to prayer, no more people to convert. There's nothing else to do but to be with us. And he will be with you and your group and your family as if you were the only ones. That's what it means for him to be omnipresent. That's why he's coming. 1,000 years. And so the cross is the ultimate proof of the second coming. We don't need more charts. We just need more cross. He's coming. I've probably done, 150 weddings in my career, 30-some years as a pastor. And I asked the young couples beforehand, where are you going to go for your honeymoon? Well, we're going to Greek islands or going here, go there, Hawaii, Tahiti. Not once have they ever asked me to go along with them. They give me a little $50 or $100. I said, I don't want your $50. I want to go on the honeymoon. Let me stay in the same hotel. Let me go somewhere. No, they never invite me. But I tell them, take Christ. Take Christ with you everywhere in your honeymoon. But heaven is more than that. Heaven is not taking Christ on our honeymoon. God is the honeymoon himself. It is the whole point. God wanting to be with us, east and west, north and south, at the great banquet table with Christ. And so that's what's coming. God is the honeymoon himself. How do you know for sure that it's going to be soon? Jesus talked a lot about signs of the times. I've had a lot of trouble growing up with these signs as a young pastor. So many signs, sometimes it seemed like, are these really legitimate? Pastors looking at the newspapers, here's another war, this must be it. Another war in the Middle East, okay, here's Armageddon. World War II, they had the Japanese planes with the sun rising, and this is it. The kings from the sun rising, the kings from the east, this is Armageddon. Every disaster, every Katrina, every tsunami, the earthquakes, Haiti and Chile, this is it. This must be it. Nuclear bombs all over the world. People lose track of some of them. Here we are. The fundamentalist movement around the world, every war, every problem. This is it. This is it. This fulfills final prophecy. Hal Lindsey talked about Israel being back in Jerusalem, 1948. Within 40 years, one generation, all would come to an end. 1988. Here we are, 20 plus years after that. He's an old man. It was all wrong. There was a man named John Todd, went all over our church when I was in seminary. There was going to be Sunday laws, and there were these terrible things going to happen. And you better store food and survival techniques. He was a witch. He knew all this background conspiracies. All wrong. All a mistake. How do we know that there are any signs that are really legitimate? I believe in signs of Christ coming. I believe in Matthew 24. I preached it all over the world. But if I had to boil it all down, there's just one sign necessary. It's the cross. That Jesus, this is his heart. He died so we could be back together again. He won't wait 1 minute longer than he has to come. It is like all the angels are ready to go. It's like Indianapolis 500 when all the motors are beginning to rev up. He's ready to go. He will not come back 1 minute later than he has to wait. He wants to come. We don't need more charts. We just need more cross to be sure that Christ is coming soon. Jack Kern, the Lakers used to say when games were about over, when he knew the Lakers were going to win, this game's in the refrigerator. It's just garbage time from now on. It's getting, the butter's getting hard, Jello's getting hard, the eggs are getting cold. This game's in the refrigerator. It's just garbage time. Put the subs in. This game's over. That's where we are today. The cross is the announcement that this game is over. John 14 now, 1-3. Let not your heart be troubled. In my Father's house are many mansions. I go to prepare a place for you. There's going to be a place for us. God doesn't just wait until everyone gets there to make a place to see whoever shows up, He'll make a place for them. No, He's made a place for everyone. There's a place in heaven for you with your name on it. There's a place. You will walk into the gates of heaven and you will feel that this is the home you've been waiting for all your life. C.S. Lewis says, what you've been waiting for. It'll be designed just for you. Christianity Today asked the other day, will there be motorcycles in heaven? We have this stereotypical picture of heaven. It's just clouds and harps and gardening all the time and studying. And people say, why would I want to do that forever? So we want to stay. We don't want to go. No. Whatever pleasure we have down here will be more than matched up in heaven. Whatever that sensations that you want from motorcycle racing or from skiing or whatever else, the best pleasures in this world today, God will have something in heaven that will exactly reproduce that particular feeling times 100 to 1. Matthew 19:29 says, whatever you have given up for me here on this earth, I will make it up to you 100 to 1 in this earth and in the life to come. And so heaven will be better, 100 times better than your greatest pleasures. It'll be designed just for you, exactly the way you would like it to be. I thought about it the other night. I was coming home from Garden Grove late at night. It was 3 hours from the time I left my church until I got home, 30 miles. There was an accident. All night long I had to just sit there and move. And I saw the motorcycles coming by. I said, I'd like to have a motorcycle. I have never been allowed to have a motorcycle, but someday I'm going to have a motorcycle. People, will there be golf in heaven? Will there be snowboarding? Will there be making love? Whatever there is will be better than all of that. That's the promise. God did not use up all His good ideas at creation. You think about it. We talk about God is going to put us back to where we were. He's going to restore creation. No, it's better than that. Creation was only to be the beginning. Creation was to be the beginning, and we would go explode with knowledge and sensations and experiences forever. That's what God is going to restore us to. What we could have been, would have been, if there had not been sin. Not just put us back to a perfect creation. It's going to be far beyond that. When do you go to heaven? The Bible is very clear, not as soon as you die. The Bible says, the harvest at the end of the world. We will receive our reward at the end of the world. Matthew 13, Revelation 22. Judgments at the end of the world, Acts says. And Jesus says in John 14, I go to prepare a place for you, and I will come back and take you to be with me, that where I am, there you may be also. That's when He's going to come. He'll take us home to be with Him when He comes back. That's the good news of the Bible. What about the judgment? How do you survive this judgment? We had someone criticize us one time where I was preaching before. He was tired of hearing so many sermons about grace. And he said, yes, grace is important. Yes, grace is wonderful. But we really need to hear more sermons about second coming in the last days and how to be ready and what does grace have to do with that. We wanted to say grace has everything to do with that. There was a lady who was going to make a cake for her church bake sale. And she didn't have time. She was trying to hurry along. She took the cake out too quick and the cake collapsed. She didn't know what to do to salvage this. She looked around the house and all that she could find was a roll of toilet paper. Stuck that in there, quickly covered it up and tried to prop up the cake, and then she frosted it and hoped that no one would know. Raced down to the church and set it in there with all the other cakes. Then she told her daughter, hurry down there, go to the sale, and you make sure you bid for our cake first. A couple hours later, the girl came home and said, Mom, I was too late. Someone already bought it. The next day, that mother went to a fancy women's ministry dinner, rich lady's house. Came time for the dessert, and the lady brought out that cake. The mother who made it wanted to get up and whisper to her, before she could say anything, another lady said, "Oh, what a beautiful cake." And the rich lady said, "Thank you, I made it myself." Lied. And the mother sat back down and just thought, "I'm going to let this lady get the just consequences of what she just said." But the point of the story is no one in the final judgment is ever going to say, "I did it myself." No one is going to take anything that they've ever done and offer it as having a single part of salvation in the judgment. It is only Christ. John 3:16, "Whosoever believeth in him." John 5:24, "Whoever believeth in Jesus Christ has transferred from death to life." It is only Christ. It is only grace. John 14, he says, "You know the way where I am going. I am the way." There's no other way. And then will come the second coming and the resurrection. You imagine what that resurrection is going to be like. Sometimes I go out to the cemetery where my father is buried and think, what will that be like? To see my father, almost 8 years now in May, to see my father come out of that and to see him and hug him again. For my father to be back with my mother. What an incredible thing that will be, the resurrection. And then we'll go on the clouds and go to heaven. Max Lucado says we will walk into heaven. It'll be like we were Mark McGuire or the other great athletes who have 100,000 people cheering for them. You may have no one cheering for you here, but we will have, all of heaven will cheer the moment you walk into heaven. Even if you've never had anybody cheer your name, the moment you walk into heaven, all of heaven will cheer as if you were the only one. And we will live with God forever. Heaven can't wait. Don't miss it. The door is open for you. God bless.